Hey, good morning, listeners and viewers. We have a surprise for everyone right here, right now. Because look, I've got Jalf, not in the studio, but in the office right here. It's brilliant. You need to speak up, I think, because I don't know where the microphone is.
Well, it's great to be here in
It's
your wonderful SME Center of Excellence.
Yeah, thank you. So you're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
live on our weekly radio show right here on Spice F.
And each week we'll try and bring some views, news, and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections. We're going to sit here with this microphone, are we? I'm hoping that it just picks it up.
No, I'm sure it will.
Pick it up. We need it on
Let's,
something. We need to improvise, compromise, simplify. It's going to fall in, isn't it? Is it not? Anyway, it's going to fall in. Anyway, it's. I'm hoping that everyone can hear us. Jimmy, if you're there, can you hear us? Yes, wonderful. Excellent. Thank you for that. Yeah, there was a bit of radio silence there for a second. And anyway, we've got an amazing show for you right here this week. Jeff, it's the 7th of February.
Yes, well, already 6 weeks have gone in the year, which is incredible.
It's mad. Let's kick off with something that we would normally do at the end of the show, which is football. Talk us through what's going on at Newcastle United.
Well, first of all, I mean, those that were lucky enough to be inside St. James's Park on Wednesday, it was it was an atmosphere that's up there with any other match in the history of St. James's Park, I would have thought. Probably second to PSG. An incredible atmosphere, first and foremost. And the game itself, I mean, you look at kind of the last two games when we got beat by Bournemouth, we got beat by Fulham. But as soon as you went into St. James's Park on Wednesday, it had a different feel, didn't it? And you kind of thought to yourself, the atmosphere was so intimidating, no matter who you are, for you to come and kind of perform in that environment as an opposition player was so difficult. The best players in the world, they just couldn't. And Newcastle fans and the team, they were just absolutely up for it and just blew Arsenal away. Anyhow, tactically, got one over Mikel Arteta, and then the players were just phenomenal. Great victory. Now we're in the final, and we're in the final with our nemesis on the Liverpool because we just never seem to be able to beat them. But I think with the warrior spirit and the fact that we do have world class players, we can give them a good game, and hopefully the footballing gods are with us on the 16th of March in the Carabao Cup final, and hopefully, we can win the first trophy in 75 years.
It'd be amazing, is what it would be. Yeah, it's as Jeff says, incredibly exciting. I don't know how it was for you, Jeff, but talking to other people who were there, who were watching, there was a real nervousness around the game, wasn't there?
I think that was, but I think that's probably each individual probably felt slightly different. I think I had some nerves, but the fact is that we were 2-0 up, so the nerves weren't really that huge. I just felt the atmosphere was just so imposing, and we were the 12th man. It would have been really challenging for anyone to try and come back and beat us in that environment. So, and within 3 minutes, when Isak scored the goal, that should have been a goal because apparently they said it wasn't offside, it was onside, although VAR said it wasn't. And even after that goal, I didn't feel as though that all things are gonna, we're not gonna be able to score another goal. So yeah.
Oh, did you not? See, I felt as if when that goal was disallowed, that it would really affect the confidence.
But it didn't, did it?
No, it didn't. But I mean,
yeah,
that happened.
That, yeah.
I remember sat next to Dave, who I was sat next to
Yeah,
and saying, my gosh, this is really going to affect their confidence. Oh, I
yeah,
hope it doesn't
yeah, yeah,
affect their confidence,
yeah.
is
But
what we said.
but I just think that the players, I think you do sense something different. I think there's a level of maturity, isn't there, within the squad, just because we've been through this before, and hopefully the fact that we won the final 2 years ago is going to really, really fare well for us. When you compare to where we were a couple of years ago to where we are now, we have the likes of Anthony Gordon, we have Tonali, Isak came on in the final at halftime, the last one a couple of years ago. So I think if we have all of them fit, we can give Liverpool a really good game. And hopefully, look, Liverpool are fantastic. Got world class players, and they know how to win, and they're just a great club, great team, great players from Van Dijk to Salah. I mean, they're just phenomenal. They've got so many strikers. I mean, which striker? I mean, out of those wings at the front of them, who do you want to bring on? You've got bloody Cody Gakpo, you've got Luis Diaz, you've got. I mean, you got Salah, you've got Jota. I mean, then you've got Nunes. And then you've got Chiesa on the bench. You've got six world-class bloody wingers and strikers. It's just unbelievable how many players that they've got. But it's still 11 against 11, and if we really, 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 I think we're going to be hungrier than that. And it's just a matter of that we can just kind of get through that one game, win it, and I think the city changes forever. The football club changes forever. I think the impact that would have on the football club and the city would be something that we would have to really, we don't know what we're going to be in for because it's going to change.
Oh, I think so. And then just carrying on that conversation, Jack, around the stadium.
Yeah, I think they've already. I mean, we probably spoke about this in the past, haven't we?
Well,
St James's Park needs to remain. We need to build a new stadium. Yeah. It needs to be in the city centre. The proposal is to be right next to where St James's Park is. So effectively, they build about 80% of the new stadium in newer grounds right next to it, but 20% comes into the old ground, so they have to knock down a stand. A bit like how they did it at Tottenham Hotspur. So that then keeps your city centre stadium. Whilst some people have a love for St James's Park, and so do I, but I think the atmosphere is created by the fans. I think if you imagine a brand new stadium where they will take the acoustics into consideration, the comfortability into consideration, making it as imposing as possible. If you have the both sides behind the goals, you have the hardcore fans on either side. Then you have the corporates on both sides of the halfway line. Because at the moment on the east stand there is no corporate. That gives you that corporate opportunity where the club can make X amount of money. But you do all of those things tactically, strategically. You do it by liaising with all the fan groups so they can share their real thoughts on how a stadium should be created. I think, as long as you make sure that the stadium is catering for the real hardcore fans at a really, really reasonable cost. You up the stadium to about 68,000. You have more season ticket holders, real fans with soul. And then you then got enough opportunity to make the money from the corporates. So I think the new stadium is the way to go. If you think about the fact that the Saudis they've got a new World Cup. Well, they're hosting the World Cup in 2032, I think it is. So they need to create a stadium which is going to showcase the fact that they're the leading country for football and sport. And that's one of the things that they, actively doing already with is it Turkey? Turkey Saud with what he's doing with the boxing and the Riyadh season and everything that they're doing with football as well with Ronaldo.
Well, sport. I mean, they recognise the importance and the impact of sport, and it was wonderful to hear them talk about. There was an interview done just last week about the World Cup and alcohol. And what they're saying, and it's really interesting, right, is the world's changing more generally anyway. Where alcohol is concerned, young people don't drink as much, and a lot of young people don't drink at all. There's been a steady decline in people drinking alcohol
mm,
and a real rapid incline with people drinking no alcohol beer and wine and things like that. And um, in fact, we had some Saudi visitors last year, and I remember meeting them, and they ordered a no alcohol beer. And I thought, you know what? Isn't that like I wouldn't do that because I just that's just a personal preference.
yeah,
But you adapt and you adopt. You go, okay, it's a social thing because other people were drinking there
mm,
and they were drinking like zero, not one of these 0 point whatever,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
a genuine zero alcohol drink. And the response of the minister for sport was quite simply, we don't, we're sat here, you're asking us as of today, is there alcohol or is there going to be alcohol and does that cause an issue? We don't think that needs to cause an issue.
mm,
We're focusing on the experience.
yeah,
We're focusing on family. We're focusing on, providing the opportunity for all. And one of the things that has been seen through Saudi's effort is the opening up of sports to so many different individuals. So all of a sudden, you're seeing more females, you're seeing more children coming along. Does the money generate? Well, it does. If I can take my family somewhere, it solves a whole host of issues for me,
mm,
which are surrounding who's going to look after the kids, can I do something with the wife, and all of this. And it introduces them to the sport, so generates interest. All of a sudden, you've got young people getting interested in golf, getting interested in, sort of football, getting more interested in, and what does that do? So the Middle East has been quite prevalent in, sort of a number of health type issues relating to obesity,
mm.
because eat a lot of sugar, relatively inactive lifestyles,
Mm.
all of these things. Now,
Eating too much biryanis,
well, all of that,
big,
right?
big
And
pieces,
like
whole leg of lambs
and camels.
between two.
I had camel meat. I had camel when I was out there,
Yeah.
and I got the hump. Anyway, um, so yeah, and I love that, and those guiding principles. Well, why wouldn't you? And the other thing to recognize about Saudi is that it is opening up. So last week there was an announcement around how you can, non-nationals can now buy property.
Mm.
There's going to be a huge demand in Medina and places like that. I mean, there's 2 billion potential people, right? But if you say, okay, can everyone be able to afford a property? Possibly not, but you're going to get a few million that are, right? So all of a sudden, you're going to get 2 or 3 million individuals wanting there and wanting to have a place and a space religiously, spiritually, and all of those things. So it's there's a lot of opportunities in Saudi, Jalf, is what there is.
Yeah, it's combining that opportunity, what their focus is for sport, to become the best in the world. And the great thing is, Newcastle United will greatly benefit from that. With this new stadium, they're saying it's going to cost 1.2 billion. If you imagine, it's going to be the best stadium in the world, right here in Newcastle City Centre, and imagine when you're able to bring things like Riyadh season to Newcastle United, because that is their national stadium effectively. They've been bringing the Riyadh season to London, to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or wherever. Why would they need to do that anymore? Imagine the benefit of fights as big as Usyk and what's it called, man? Usyk and Fury that happened in Saudi, that happens in Newcastle. Because
as part of Riyadh season, because they had Riyadh season in London for the boxing and things like that.
Now, and then if the Premier League, the PCR rules is all about how much money your club can generate, well, of course they're going to be able. You're going to need a new stadium to be able to make it multi-dimensional. where you can have concerts and events, and Stadium of Light have a lot of concerts at the moment because I think they say that the acoustics are more suited to it. So you've got the likes of Beyonce and ABCD that come there, but as soon as this stadium's built, they're not going to go there anymore because this is going to be the place to be. So I think it's really, really exciting for the city, Ammar. I think everyone should help support and not get in the way from the council and the authorities because it's such a huge benefit to the city. And they should just tick all the boxes and allow this to happen really, really quickly. And hopefully within 3 years, we're able to, they say 5, 6, 7. I think that they've just kind of telling us the longest possible kind of time, but surely they can build a stadium before then if the authorities are able to tick the boxes that are necessary.
It's for me, if you can build a runway in 37 days,
right?
If you can build one of the most advanced hospitals in 6 months, right? Then why do everything in this country take so long?
Is it not the authorities and all though?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course it is. And then there's this, contradictory conversation around, this, that, this, that, this, that. And what I mean by that is, if you look at, sadly, government messaging has been a bit like a hokey-cokey. So coming in, right, we're going to need to fix everything. We're going to tax everyone. We're going to, make it really, really challenging. And that's exactly what's happened. And, I respect and appreciate that some of that might have to do with tax and books and where the money is and all of that. But you're saying, I'm going to take more money off you. I'm going to make it harder for you to employ people. I'm going to tax you more. I'm going to be all of these challenges. There's new regulation in regards to a whole host of sectors and industries, whether that's employees, whether that's employing someone, whether that's 0-hour contracts, and
whether it's that you're a landlord,
whether you're a landlord. And you can't now evict people even if they are trashing your house, and and so all of these challenges. And then on the flip side of that, they are saying that they will they want the country to grow.
I think it's a paradox. I really don't understand what on earth they're doing. I think I don't know if whether some of Donald Trump's policies might inspire the British government to change their policy. So isn't Trump saying that there's not going to be any tax for up to £100,000, $100,000 or something earnings? Imagine that, Ammar. Tax should start after
I think so.
Your first 100,000 should be free.
So I seen an illustration, right? I seen an illustration of somebody who earns £100,000, right? One person who earns £100,000, they pay more tax. They're not entitled to child credit benefit, right? There's all of these. So collectively, and this is if you're a couple and one of you earn £100,000. Flip that to if there's two people as a couple, if you're earning £50,000 each, you're entitled to child credit benefit. You pay a fraction of the tax. So there's this motivation to work and ambition and things like that just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's they do need to have a rethink. I don't know if there's going to be any positive surprises in the budget, which is coming. Is that in March, or is that a few weeks away now? Or,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's going to be.
Well, that's not so. Actually, there isn't a budget.
Okay,
there is. March. There's a statement. So the Chancellor decided to change how many times a budget took place. So rather than twice a year, there would only be one budget.
mm,
And the rationale behind it was it's not fair to keep introducing policies and things like that. And the only time that they would have a budget was if there was an emergency, like COVID or whatever
mm,
it is, right? The problem with making that policy now is we know the UK isn't actually growing, nowhere near where it could or should. And there's this term that they're hesitant to use is stagflation, where inflation, stays there. There's some stagnation associated with it, and it's a really challenging time. So, come March, what the chancellor currently can't do, and she might change this because one of the things that we've noticed is this sort of going in and out, the hokey cokey, as we might describe it. And um, they will uh, not introduce any policies, whereas actually we really need some policies.
mm.
We need to sort out the tax increases. We need to take away the a variety of initiatives. We need incentives. I would be moving the tax bands,
Mm.
as Donald Trump's doing. I mean, the other thing in the news is terrific. Is the what is horrific is what's going on in the Middle East and in Gaza and places like that. That was just ridiculous, wasn't it?
It was comedy, wasn't it? Yeah, it's comedy. Oh, yeah, I think it's gonna be really nice, if we can just move 1.7 million from their home and we can do some really wonderful things
Mm.
there. It's going to be beachfront property, we can have some great hotels, create lots of jobs. Da, 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 da. I'm thinking, oh, so you're just basically saying that you're going to ethnically cleanse what used to be 2.2 million people. Now it's come down to 1.7 million people because 500, half a million people have been just killed just recently. Some of them with tactical nuclear weapons that they've just come out and said just before. And for Donald Trump just to come out and make that statement is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I mean, you can't just be so gung ho thinking that, yeah, I'm the American president, I'm the most powerful man in the world, I'll do what I want because everyone else is just going to sit back and take it because they're not going to do that. It doesn't matter how powerful your country is. There's still um, other countries in this world that also are very, very powerful, and you should respect. And beyond respecting the more powerful countries, every single sovereign country has their right to exist. It's a country that's recognized by the UN, and what you're just going to come and say, just move them along.
That's always been a country.
Yeah.
It's just peculiar that it suffers in the way that it has and does, right?
Well, I don't know if it's. I mean, there's like so many reasons for it, why that is happening.
And of course, there is, well, there's
But
religious, and there's a whole host of other key considerations, and a variety of other theories as well. I just find it astounding. I personally, publicly, have been incredibly mindful of, taking a view, taking a side, taking a whatever it is, for a number of reasons. But when I heard that last week, I just thought this has gone past the point where anybody with any sense can say this is right or justified.
mm,
This is a people, this is a place, and this is Palestine. Well, isn't it?
and the thing is, it's not any old. It's not just any old piece of land. It's the most historic, the most holiest land that is ever there on throughout history. It's the land where you had all of the prophets from Jesus to David to Solomon to Moses to Abraham, everybody, they all touched that land, and that's why it's so precious to so many people. It's the land where the Virgin Mary walked. whether you believe in religion or you don't believe in religion, there's a lot of people that do believe in religion, and that's a sacred land, and you can't just all of a sudden. I mean, people have been fighting over it for centuries. So, and that's not gonna end. Obviously, there could be people in power at this time in history who are gonna flex their muscles and try and, claim the land, and and throughout history it's happened, and maybe it's 100 years ahead. The dynamic might be different, but it's not easy just to displace people's history of the most holiest, most precious land. Whilst it might be rubble to Donald Trump, I've seen pictures of the Palestinians having a cup of tea in their own land, in the rubble, because it's their land, and that's what they choose to do. Yeah, you might have flattened it, but you still haven't killed the soul of the people.
Well, that's your home, isn't it? It's your home. It's like, telling the people of Georgia or whatever state where there's been Florida, right, where there's been a catastrophe, and it's so sad and it's shocking. And actually, these catastrophes I'm making reference to, sadly, they were, not man-made. So we've created a catastrophe, we've enforced that catastrophe. And imagine saying to those people, you can't go back to where you've lived all your life.
Yeah, that's
where your ancestors have lived all their life. Where your history and heritage is informed. It's crazy. Anyway, it's a sad, sad state of affairs. This sounds very doomy and gloomy, because generally the outlook is very much doomy and gloomy. So for me, what needs to happen is a unification of support. We need to help Palestine rebuild. I feel as if those responsible countries should contribute to that in the main. And including the people who might have supplied the munitions and everything else, right? As in, there's a moral and ethical responsibility to put right this despair. So let's see. There was a bit of backtracking yesterday, apparently, by the press secretary, saying, President Trump didn't allegedly mean that they should leave forever, but they should be allowed to then come back.
Yes.
So I think if they're going to build a beautiful Riviera, then wonderful. Do that. Do that. Give them I mean, hundreds of hospitals, hundreds of schools, hundreds of everything. All of those things that are just being willfully destroyed. It just beggars belief, doesn't it?
It's just outrageous. It's just shocking. And apparently, there's some oil on their kind of piece of land, and A, B, C, and D. So it's not. I mean, they're desperate for it. The Israelis are desperate for that land. Apparently, the donors, like I think there's a lady called Mariam Addison or something, gave Trump 100 million, and said that, yeah, look, for that $100 million I'm giving you, just make sure we get the Gaza Strip. And her people are in Trump's ear, said, well, hold on, mate, you made this promise to the lady that got you into power, so you need to deliver on the promises that you made. And I've just heard that from Douglas McGregor, who's that the Colonel Douglas McGregor, who's a US American colonel, and he speaks a lot of sense. So obviously Trump is there to fulfill a lot of pledges that's been made, but the Israelis are desperate. They're desperate for the land. They're desperate for Al-Aqsa Mosque to turn it into a temple. They've lined up so many things in order to ultimately, it's all about, don't want to get too religious in this conversation, but it's all about the Messiah that they want to come back, and certain things need to be in place for that thing to happen. Look, it's I personally feel there's gonna be trouble in that area, and I think there's prophecies that will get fulfilled. And one of those prophecies will be when, whether it be the Muslims or the Christians, both believe that it's all a matter of Jesus, the son of the Virgin Mary, when he descends on earth again in a troubled area. So if you imagine, the trouble is still there, it's still going to be there until the time that he comes. And I think that's the ultimate religious kind of outlook upon it through all parties. So
yeah, it is sad state of affairs. What else is going on? Well, gosh, has it not been a busy week right here in ABC, where we've seen so many things and initiatives going on, and what are those things and initiatives? Well, let me share them with you. So the headlines this week, Jalf, um, there's a report saying I was listening to Ed Miliband this morning, right? And because going back to those contradictions, right? There's this, we're driving low carbon sustainability. There was some European scientists who have allegedly said it's the warmest January ever and things like that. Now, the challenge with a lot of these statements is you'll have someone saying that, and then you'll have someone demonstrating the total opposite. Right?
Didn't feel warm to me. I don't know.
My hands are cold.
I was shivering the whole of January.
It still feels cold now, is what it is. So there's a question. Anyway, coming back to the sustainability, net zero, and all of these ambitions. And we were just talking about what creates or causes the biggest delays to major projects and infrastructure things and things like that. And it's the authorities, it's the policies, it's everything that you've got to comply with. And there's no question about that, right? Now, Ed Miliband was asked, well, 2023, you said you wouldn't support all of these things. Now you sat here saying it's all about the growth. It's all about the growth. It's all about the growth. Anyway, the Northeast is leading the way on a variety of things. And, the Northeast Chamber of Commerce report highlights the region's strong potential in the hydrogen industry, which could be worth £46 billion to the UK by 2050. With key infrastructure and industrial expertise, the Northeast is well positioned to lead in hydrogen development. However, challenges such as a lack of skills, transport and storage infrastructure, and public concerns must be addressed. The report cites successful hydrogen projects, including Dupura and Life, and calls for further investment and collaboration to drive the region's role in the UK's clean energy future. What else is going on? Lithium Salvage has secured 1.7 million in funding led by North Star Ventures to advance plans for a battery recycling plant in Sunderland. The company aims to be the UK's first end-to-end recycler of household lithium-ion batteries by 2026, recovering valuable metals like lithium, cobalt, nickel using an eco-friendly process. The investment will help scale production and expand its Sunderland site. Additional backers include Six Wave Ventures, NPIF2, and angel investors. Supported by Innovate UK and Teesside University, the initiative aligns with government goals to improve UK self-sufficiency in battery material recycling. Exciting stuff. What was going on this week? So I've just mentioned there was the awesome campaign. So we were delighted to welcome Sean Foy, Senior Manager, UK Network at the Northeastern England at the British Business Bank, as he joined ABC in championing Become Awesome campaign with over 20 years of experience in business finance and support. Sean has been a dedicated advocate for empowering individuals to start, survive, and thrive promoting health, wealth, and happiness. It's part of Race Equality Week, Team ABC, including me, Amit Bahanda, Iram Ali, and Kevin Allen, delivered an inspiring session on business planning, equipping our awesome women with the knowledge and confidence to build, grow, and succeed. The Awesome Women Enterprise Program is dedicated to supporting women from diverse backgrounds in launching and scaling their businesses through expert-led workshops, mentoring, and access to vital resources. Awesome provides the tools needed to navigate entrepreneurship with confidence, proudly backed by the SME Centre of Excellence, Yola, RBC Brewin Dolphin, and British Business Bank. This initiative is creating real opportunities for women to thrive in business.
That's brilliant initiative, Ammar. Really, really is.
That's great. And it's, and I'll tell you what I loved, right? Jalf was, there's sort of around a dozen Asian women, and they're Muslim women. Some of them are actually in full niqab, burqa, and others, all of them cover their heads and whatever else. But there's no issue or reservedness. The religion complements what they're doing. And it's wonderful to see them talking about creating a retreat, a wellness retreat, right? One of them was talking about creating a wellness retreat. The other is creating a directory because her friends constantly say, oh, can you recommend a good this? Can you tell me about that? And she teaches at the mosque. She's an Islamic teacher, but they all want to help the broader, wider community. Other, they're catering, and she's gone and studied catering and got a qualification, and she wants to create healthy food, right? But she also wants to teach other people how to do cooking properly, with the right skills, and develop that across the community, use this, do that, this is how you can do that, and creating a bit of a catering business. Anyway, the level of enthusiasm, the passion, the interest, the entrepreneurialism is just brilliant. And they're all different ages. They're all got different family responsibilities. They'll continue doing that, interior design, cake baking, for a different type of cake, an exclusive cake, and a whole host of other things, an online program to help other women. All of these things, is what it could be.
I think it's just the platform there, and others in the community who may be thinking about doing something. At least now they've got a place where they can go and have that discussion and be able to open up their minds and find a support and network, which is they're going to be able to, show them the pathway, able to bring that idea into fruition.
Yeah.
I think that's so critical, and it's done at grassroots, and that's what the greatest thing about it is.
It is, and that's the thing. For me, the program isn't about what ABC's doing. It's about what these women are doing and helping and supporting each other and inspiring others. ABC is going to be co-located at the International Trade Centre. So you're going to get that venue, beautiful, brand new space, place. And it's going to be delivering a whole range of inclusion by default activities, including these type of programs, right? Bringing them into an environment, a live environment, where there's lots of other entrepreneurs. So if they want to talk to other entrepreneurs, if they want to understand how businesses have scaled up, all of these things that are super exciting, would help ensure that these women and actually everybody else become incredibly successful. So we've got the Institute of Enterprise and Entrepreneurship, the leading body for enterprise and entrepreneurship. So we're not just saying, oh, here's a business plan and here's a little thing that you do. We're working with the best institutes and the best organizations in an environment that's super exciting. It's going to deliver so many incredible things to support individuals and organizations start, survive, and thrive. Jeff?
Oh, brilliant. I think I'm just looking forward to seeing how many kind of young women, or not, they don't have to be young, do they?
They don't. They don't.
Many,
the children have grown up a little bit.
course.
They can look after themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're going to then come out during the day. And we've created the program, Jeff. It runs from 9:30 till 2:30.
Yeah. I just want to see the success stories. Hopefully, give it a year and let's touch base on it and let's really see how and what impact it has made, because I'm pretty sure it's going to make a serious impact.
Well, we're going to grow. As in, you're absolutely right. One of the other things that I'm going to do and encourage them is to come on our show. We'll get them on our show. We'll talk about what they're doing. We'll promote what they're doing, and we'll use this platform to help support others, because this is show business, and it's a show about business, and everything else is what it is. So that was the awesome campaign. Yesterday, I had a really interesting experience, Jeff. I drove down to just outside of Wetherby, a place called Dayton, right, to meet with high sheriffs. The high sheriffs, Jeff, are the oldest role in the country, outside of like kings or lords or whatever it is, right? So the high sheriff are the people who William the Conqueror. So I'll tell you what I love. I love learning, right? And I'm getting excited about this. So my son had a bit of homework, had to do some research. And how familiar are you with William the Conqueror?
Obviously, I've heard of William the Conqueror, but if I was to tell you his history, I'm not going to be able to tell you much.
And whether I'd learned it and forgot it, or whether I'd never learned it, I don't know. Right? But it was a wonderful thing a few weeks back. So William the Conqueror, French, Normandy, came, conquered, Battle of Hastings, 1066, and all of this, right?
Yep.
And he created. There was three things that he'd done to inform a different type of England, right? One, he created, built and commissioned castles all across England. So castles,
right.
He built them,
right,
and he instructed them to be built everywhere.
Right.
And the purpose of that castle was to demonstrate to the local community his power and influence, right? So the castles were built everywhere.
Right.
The second thing is he created lords where he give people the title of lord, and give them land.
Yeah.
They then had appointed knights, so sirs, to help protect the land, and they then had peasants who either paid them taxes,
right,
or give them crops and things like that, or farmed for them. And all of this is they were the peasants. So and at that time they created high sheriffs to maintain law and order.
Right.
So the most commonly known, recognized sheriff is the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, yeah.
And Robin Hood.
Right.
So that's where the shrivelity, easy for me to pronounce the high sheriffs, right, came about. And there's two parts to this story. One is the fact that I spent the day with high sheriffs in nomination in Wetherby, but also William the Conqueror. So he created castles, he gifted land, and created this mechanism. And then he fought. So the North went through a torrid time. People rebelled. They were like, paying taxes, I'm not doing this. And there was this big war, and he starved 100,000 people in the North. Right. It was one of the biggest killings, genocides, or whatever it is, in history. And he just sieged them in York and everything else, and the kids and the families and everyone starved.
Ammar, it would have been the taxes would have been at 1%, and that's why there was the civil war and all of the unrest and all of
like
it.
all of those things.
Yeah.
Whatever the tax was, the problem with it is quite simply that we I was really interested, and it's funny when as a and then my son and I spent a bit of time doing some more research. I got really excited. He'd done his essay and assignment, and we talked about the power of writing and communicating and all of that. Anyway, that was a great experience. But coming back to yesterday, so yesterday, a lesson learned for me was always double check your instructions, right? So I jumps in the car yesterday morning, having been to the match on Wednesday night, way past my watershed, really, really late, shattered, gets up yesterday morning thinking I've got a long drive to Wetherby, don't know where I'm going, don't know I'm going to get there type thing. I was like, oh, do I jump on the train? And I probably should have considered a train. But anyway, puts in the sat nav. Naturally, always worry about what time I should leave. I was like leaving at 7. By the time I got out, it was like nearly 7:30. Jumps in, puts in the postcode, looks round, it looks right because I'd looked at it like earlier on in the week, and my assistant had sent us all of the details and everything else, and so I'd equally looked at the map. I thought, all right, that's all right. Drives down, making really good tracks. And then I've got a call with Saudi at 8 o'clock. So I'm driving down the A1, gets into where I'm getting, and the call goes on. By now, it's gone 9 o'clock, it's 9:10. I'm driving and I'm driving and I'm going through a village and I go through a village and I go through a hamlet. And then I'm on the single track lane and I'm driving into this single track lane, and it's like people are like looking at me really peculiar. Who's this Asian guy? And I'm thinking, oh, it's Yorkshire. There's nothing here. Anyway, I'm driving past farms, and the address that I'd put in, it was like the paddock somewhere. And I'm talking to our business partner in Saudi Ali, and I'm like, Ali, listen, I need to just double check something because this just doesn't seem right. I know my sat nav regularly takes me back routes and shortcuts and all of this. So I just normally just trust it, right? I have a look, and I've only put the wrong postcode in. And I was just like, oh my God. Yeah. And then, I've walked past a couple of people with a dog who were like really looking at me peculiarly. Yeah. And then, I'm now driving back out. It was taking us to a farm in the other end of a field in the middle of a whatever it was. So I'm 20 minutes now away from where I need to be. Luckily, I've given myself enough time. Very unusual. But I could have saved 40 minutes. 20 minutes to this, I was like a mile away from the farm destination, driving 20 miles, and the place where I was going to was just off the A1.
Well, imagine though if you got to the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan and then you're trying to leave there.
That was exactly the conversation that I'd had with Ali on the phone. He's like, well, you're pulling into this very peculiar far right pointy hat type place. I said, to be honest, when I was driving they would never have seen someone drive, because no one would have any cause to drive up these back routes and all of these things, right? It's like I drove past about 10 different farms, and I'm wondering why I'm on this single track road, and I'm just thinking, it's going to bring us out to this county home. Anyway, so I was then spent the day there. Really interesting. It's incredible to see these volunteers doing what they're doing. And then came back from that. And you realize you've spent 5 hours driving up and down. Yeah. By the time you've gone traffic and whatever else, and then I was sat all day as well, and got in last night, and it's like you're tired. I'm so incredibly tired, is what I am. So yeah, it's yeah, it's anyway, brilliant week, lots going on, wonderful results for everyone. I'm super excited about what's going on in this region and what we're doing to help grow this region. And next week being invited to a PIF private sector event as well. The fact that they own Newcastle United and they're looking at the Newcastle airport as part of their process as well. and and there will be a lot more going on the week after. We've got our Saudi partners and various other stakeholders coming over, which is super exciting. Going to be developing that, and then I'm out the country for a few days, and then it's our birthday celebrations, and actually I'm going to coincide the official signing and opening of Airview on that week, magical March. So it's Ramadan. There's a whole host of things, and yeah, it's exciting. So the FA Cup's going to be happening in Ramadan, and then we've got Birmingham on the weekend, Jack. Haven't we?
Yeah, Birmingham this Saturday. This Saturday. Saturday's Birmingham, and then we've got I think it's Man City. Is it midweek or is it next week? It's Man City after that, away. And then it's Nottingham Forest at home. So there's only about 4 or 5 games until the Carabao Cup final on the 16th of March.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to work out how we're getting there.
And those that don't know that are planning to go to Wembley, you've got to just make a note that apparently the trains are disruptive, aren't they?
Trains are disruptive. There's a whole range of other things that are happening that are impacting travel. So plan well in advance. Suggestion would be speak to the club and see if there's some organised coaches, which there always will be. There'll be some club travel arrangements as well. I was talking to one of the physio lead, the person who leads the physio for Newcastle, and I know you've mentioned this, but previously they fly everywhere and then have the coach pick them up and whatever else. It's like it's interesting, and so they're actually this weekend they're flying down on the day. Anyway, you've been listening to Ammar and for our weekly radio show. Next week is Valentine's Day. So I'll be sharing all of my love for Jalf, is what we'll be doing. And yeah, if you're planning anything around Valentine's, think about doing something different. We're actually going up to the observatory, Hilda Observatory, next Friday night, Jalf.
Nice.
Very romantic. So see the stars.
A major problem. It's bullying, it's competition.